and we are at Espousal Online, and this is going to be very, very interesting. We have a great guy. Wow. Deepak Chaudhary, how are we?
I'm good, Arvind. Good
Very good to
to
see you. Very good to see you here,
yeah.
Deepak. And so, for all the people who are listening, nobody here actually doesn't know Deepak Chaudhary. But having said that, Deepak has done a lot in his life. He has set up so many companies, educational institutes, IP companies. IP is most important, okay? And today I'm going to try and pick Deepak's brains to understand a little bit about weddings and wedding related IPs and everything to do with weddings. Tell us, Deepak, and thank you so much for being on Espousal Online.
I think great effort. I think I was seeing some of the stuff and loving it, and I think kudos to build this. It takes it takes more time to build an online platform than on the ground. I realized this in last few months, and I think to build an event of this scale and kind of work it's done on it, I think incredible. So kudos to the team of Espousal and Zero In. I think so. Well done. Uh, so I think the it's post spending some time in the education business, and when I jumped into the IP business, I think and I thought it's a easy business, and I said let's use some relationships and build brands and build IPs and build assets where they can see um, they can they're just not an agency business, as in you just don't get you create something and finally you get a value out of them, okay, which engages a ecosystem and finally you get a value out of that. So this drive of running an IP business for a few years now has been a biggest passion, and I think running after this passion more and more, and this pushes me to think IPs in every segment, and that's where today's conversation now, which is um, how I see weddings in the IP business. Okay, that's what I'm going to spend some time on, and maybe seeing your perspective there, and then let's enter in between wherever you think. So
Yeah.
while I so wedding at a ecosystem level where we understand that there is a huge venue ecosystem available. Okay, there's some partly driven by venues, partly driven by vendors who are a supply chain to a wedding ecosystem. It's also so we understand that, be it the invitations to every vendor, I'm not specifying that bit, okay, to to a actual when a wedding happens, all those elements and people behind it, okay, this all encompasses now how somebody who's been in the wedding business for some time, I'm not talking about a new people, okay, newly should not get into, okay, it's important. The IP business, sometimes people think in the beginning, let's start with the IP business. No, that's not a great idea. Okay, you have to spend your some years, some life to build those relationships with that category. So what I'm reaching to is largely what will you use this ecosystem to benefit to create an asset in that category. Okay, so to give you a few examples, I'm going to few examples, and then maybe let people see these videos, and we're going to see Samit Garg, as you know, at 5 o'clock, and he's built one of the very large convention, and I don't know if you're chatting with him singly or it's just there,
No,
or
no,
we're
no.
going to see him.
So, Samit sir did the keynote address yesterday in the morning. Phenomenal stuff. He
Acha,
shared
so
some
he's
numbers
covered
with us.
ICWF.
No, no, no. He
He
hasn't
shared that.
covered.
So a beautifully built conference, ICWF and convention, convention of wedding, and they realized there are five guys project where there are five of them from the event industry who've spent enough years in weddings. And imagine, it's not one person's power; it five people came together, five companies came together, and they build their strength to build the largest. The vision was very clear: we'll get the best of the people from around the world to speak and greatly build convention. Okay, so That's where the so what as a wedding organizer owner, you start seeing these two things. One is forward integration and backward integration. Now that's what will give the birth to IPs. Okay, so and it can be category by category. It can be category by category. Let's say, to give you an example, we have an IP called India Bridal Fashion Week. Okay, this is created by a gentleman called Vijay Singh. Okay, much earlier in time. It's the biggest what can happen in a wedding and fashion. Now he realized wedding is taking a big shape. He realized fashion itself is in a big shape, and there was no large. So we all know 70% of design slash fashion money today's weddings. Okay,
Right.
70%. It's a pretty large number. And if we and there was there was a lot of logic to start a fashion week, which was wedding related. And I actually spent a lot of time to bring the best designers, to in that ecosystem, to bring the luxury to its best and actually creating a show out of it. So that's what my base point over here is, how a wedding business can give birth to IPs. Okay, is what people who've established and people who've been there for some time in wedding business should look at. And these times for sure, like for example how you've done it, and similar way these times will give birth to, and it can be a forward and backward of your product also. So let's say if you're in a mehendi, if you're in a mehendi business, or you're in a any one particular business, you can drive that into taking a leadership of that category by creating a media ecosystem, by creating a event ecosystem, by creating a knowledge ecosystem, and depends on what you want to do.
Deepak, it's very interesting. What you're saying for the last 3 4 months, and as we have been doing this and meeting people in this field of weddings, right? So I'm an event manager. I'm not a wedding planner. You know that, right? So the interesting part that
Right.
has happened is, especially when I've met jewelers, they said, Arvind,
Hmm.
आप ज्वेलरी का एग्जीबिशन करो, हम आ जाएंगे.
Hmm.
Okay, we want to meet
Hmm.
50 100 more jewelers. Another person, a makeup artist, okay, a very large name in the business, she came up and she
Hmm.
said, यार आप लोग सिर्फ मेकअप का एक करो. So I am seeing, and this
Hmm.
is something that you are taking notes of, I'm sure, because this is your business
Hmm.
primarily, right? When you deal and buy
Hmm.
and sell, create, buy and sell IPs, this is a
Hmm.
totally unexplored market, right? The amount of
Hmm.
things ये wedding के अंदर आज के दिन हम लोगों ने we have identified 61 categories of people who can be a part of wedding. It is all on our website. I'm saying every one of
Hmm.
these categories can actually now become an IP. What is your thought on that, Deepak?
No, I'll, I'll tell you. So there's a little hindsight of IPs. IPs is also, it should not remain small. Okay, so it's a very tricky thing. Number of people involved in that particular business, or number of people liking that business. Okay, it's also that size and scale it has to achieve. So when you say that each of these categories, to give you an example of, you said makeup, there are two large IPs. One is by Touchwood Group called Make Me Up. Okay, Bib Gear and Touchwood Group has started this in Delhi, and a very very large IP. One makeup IP is in Bombay, which is I forgot who runs it, but very very large IP. So if you say is makeup as a category has been already explored, and for sure we're waiting for South India to somebody to start it. Yeah, but each of these categories, let's go to each, like catering. To give you a catering example, we as Event FAQs, we have a JV with Touchwood Group, where we run the largest catering expo, which is called Gourmet Entertaining Show. Now, what we end up doing is get every caterer to present their best work to wedding organizers. Now, and it has it's taken up well, because they get to present the best of the food, and automatically it sees a value. So definitely, if you say IPs can open up from each of these categories. I would like people to discuss with me if there is
Right.
any specific, let's say, if specific category. See the scale of that category. I'm saying if the scale of that category is less, don't get into that. I'm
Right.
also saying parallelly that piece.
Right. So this is a very important point that Deepak Chaudhary has come up with. And for all the people listening, Deepak Chaudhary is an authority on IPs because I think he's the only guy in the country who runs a company which deals with event IPs, right? So he must have done more than 100 IPs already. How many, Deepak?
I have lost you. Yeah, it's my
Uh,
internet or your internet?
I think it
Has
is
to be
yours.
mine, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh. So no, but I can see myself clearly. I lost you in between. Yeah.
yeah.
Now I
So,
can see you.
okay, great. So how many IPs you may have dealt with in the lifespan of Event Capital? More than 100?
So Event Capital, it's been 7 years. No. So it's been 7 years. We focus on categories.
Right.
I will not say IPs, but ecosystems, and we build multi IPs out of those ecosystem. So there are three large ecosystem. One is youth, one is kids, and one is um, what is the third one? The kids, youth,
Sport.
and music. Okay,
Yeah.
so music, we have something called Bollywood Music Project and Global South Indian Music Movement. In kids, we have India Kids Fashion Week, which is the largest kids fashion event, and a windmill, which is going on online
Right.
today also. If you, some of you, if you've not logged into it, have a look what it is. And youth is, we have got two large IPs in youth called IGX, which is the largest gaming show in the country, and a show called Social Nation, which is bringing off all the influencers together. But
Right.
what we have done in this, we've created multi IPs and multi formats and so on. But we've also dabbled with India Bridal Fashion Week is our IP in the fashion space. Bike Festival of India, we do it with Mahendra Singh Dhoni, is one of our IPs. Online, we created an IP recently called Festival of Festival, where we got 15 largest festival of the country to bring in online what they are up to. So I think the tough time for our category because the consumer is facing a problem. They want a touch and feel. We are waiting for it to open. We are ready with a lot of stuff when it opens. Our IPs are ready with the products. We've spent a lot of time on that bit now in this period.
So the interesting part is that you called the India Bridal Fashion Week a fashion IP. You did not call it a wedding IP. Yeah.
No,
So
I'm not saying where I yeah, you're right. Yeah. When
so
you're saying it's right, yeah.
this is where we are now looking at a totally nascent and virgin market, right? And this is for all the people out there, okay? If you're starting to dabble in IPs, the wedding IPs is a good space to be in, okay? And come up with some great ideas, and I'm sure Deepak Chaudhary would be willing to help in terms of setting up these kind of ideas and channelizing them, because like he himself said, आज के दिन at least you cannot have an IP for Mehndi Walas, right? If you have Mehndi Walas coming, because there are so many Mehndi Walas in the country, and there is somebody who actually thought that why don't we put all these Mehndi Walas together and do something with them? There's not much you can do with them. Would you agree on that? So therefore, the idea has to be very large. Okay, it has to be large. It has to go pan India. It has to go across the shores, because there's no point of doing some chotu motu thing and sitting down, because you're going to lose a lot of money. And this is for all the event guys out there who are listening in, and there are a lot of people in the room right now. It is it is imperative that you do a lot of research before you set this up, right? Now we did espousal online. We started off as a on ground event, and it went online. And touchwood, we are extremely happy with what we are building. I'm not saying built. I'm saying building, because this is a long affair, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
tell us more, Deepak, because you are the subject matter expert. Tell us in about 4 or 5 lines how somebody can build an IP, and how can he monetize it in the long run.
Just give me a second, huh? Just give me.
That is his. He's got a pair of twins who are troubling him right now, and he's got a daughter apart from them. So 3 kids in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
I,
Traumatic.
I I told them if the internet works, tell me, and they've been they've been shouting to their noise that internet is working. That's what
No.
has happened.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so sorry, I'm I missed the crux of the question. You want what kind of how to build an IP? No, what's your is
My
that what you're
crux of the question is that how do you monetize an IP?
how you monetize? Huh? Sorry, I missed that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'll tell you the it it has to become an IP to get it monetized. This is
Right.
the crux of it. Okay, yeah. If doesn't become an IP, it won't get monetized. Okay,
Right.
so this length of the time you make from the idea to an IP is a cost.
Right.
Okay, now and that can be 2 to 3 years or 3 to 5 years or 1 year also if you want to keep it small. So how we do that now? Let's say for example uh, let's talk about a brand called Social Nation. Okay, Social Nation, we've got a lot of influencers coming in, and we've built this ecosystem with a company called One Digital Entertainment. How have we started monetizing Social Nation? It was easy for us on a day one to do a meet and greet where they are ready to pay so much money to meet their fans. The consumer is ready to pay. If we would have taken the money on day one, we would have finished the IP on day one, but we didn't take, and we give importance and made people meet for free. Now, this is what the investment in an IP is one example. Second, say so each of it, how we build this IP ecosystem through pushing the curation to a level where it actually uh, today Bollywood music project, nobody cares which is the artist performing. We build that brand, okay, and people will give their time and to get there. Nobody cares who's performing because they believe in the brand that the automatically the brand will get the best of the curation. Now, how we monetize to come back to as soon as it becomes IP, we start building up a sponsorship pie which is much larger. In the beginning, you'll have to keep delivering at a smaller monies to a sponsor. Okay, with the time the sponsor pie is so large that the sponsor now some of our property sponsor starts coming samne se asking ki how we can monetize, sorry, how we can get value, give us the plan, and we've been able to do that. And then that become an establishment of few of the sponsors staying with you for long. Okay, so you need to reach that stage. One. Second, consumer ticketing business in India, from some of the experts, you will hear that the and it depends on every category, from the kids category to a comedy to a fashion show to a the consumer money. Still, we are at a it's growing year on year by 16 to 18%, but still we are only 3 to 5% of the pie what we can be. Okay, so if you say from a big, and it's not the reason that a consumer is not ready, maybe consumer is not getting the right thing. Cirque du Soleil, when it came to India, may not be a great content, but since people have traveled and seen Cirque du Soleil, it was sold out, and it sold out at a tickets at a high price. So if you create something automatically, like a Justin Bieber comes, it was a house full. So if people don't, so automatically you have to create an IP at a stage, at a surface, automatically a consumer ticket sells. And third monetization is of a brand ecosystem. Now we do that through food selling, through stall selling, through depends on each of the IPs. And fourth is partnerships. IPs also reduces the cost. Okay, that cost reduction happens through partnerships. If you don't, like say for example, idea of India Bridal Fashion Week, where we got each of the shows, we gave it to a wedding company to build it up, so that they get to, now we've saved that cost. So automatically, and those wedding guys end up meeting, end up branding them and meeting the consumer or the brides and grooms. Yeah, so that does help. Monetization is a far bit. If your product, you're true to your curation, stay on that for some years, it'll finally get monetized.
Right, right. So perfectly said and so wonderfully said, So again, I'll just in two lines reiterate what Deepak Chaudhary said is that guys, you building an IP, don't expect immediate returns. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of money and a lot of time that you should be willing to put in. And yet after all of that, you may fail, right? Because you don't know. And better to be very careful in the beginning to be able to understand the journey of this IP and where you're taking it. So we're talking about wedding IPs, and Deepak Chaudhary, I'm extremely happy, glad, and boasting and informing you that Espousal Online is happening now in South Africa on 30th and 31st of January. Okay. So
Nice.
we have taken this to another level. We have another couple of invites from other people who want us to take the property over there. And the beauty right now, Deepak, is that, there is nothing great in an idea. Okay. And it's easy copyable. But I'm saying it as a brand, okay, Espousal Online today has gone places, and we are extremely excited, and we are actually quite surprised for the kind of response that we have received from across the shores. Okay, and people are saying that ye karo. So let's come into the IP and then quickly come into the online IP space, because that is what has been troubling us for the longest time now, and there doesn't seem to be any immediate solution in sight, because whether it's Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, we are at 1 lakh cases a day today. People are shit scared. Okay. And whatever social distancing and whatever we may speak about, it's going to take some more time. Yeah. It's going to take some. So
Yeah,
what
it's
is
going to take some time.
yeah, so you are doing a lot of online stuff. I know that, which is absolutely crazy. Again, I'll come back to the monetizing bit, because for people like you, me, and our other brethren, okay, in and around the world, how do you monetize these online things?
See, it's let's put it this way. I'm going to put 3-4 parts of online events, okay, and automatically we'll understand which gets monetized, which doesn't get monetized. Okay, so say first part, when you're doing a client event, it's very clear that finally you will tell a client, I'm going to do an online event for you. You can monetize that, okay, which is the scale and size have come down to 10%, but still there is a business happening. Second
So
bit
I'm going to
is
interrupt
where
you. I'm going to interrupt
you're
you. I'm sorry. I'm
right.
going to interrupt you. Yeah, because it's better
Yeah,
we
please.
address this point. So today the time has come, and I know because I myself have done three extremely large corporate online events for 3,500 people and above, 1 week events. And I really thought that जो हमारा बिलिंग होएगा 10 या 15-20% होएगा. But we have managed to touch 75-80% of the
Hmm.
billing. Okay. The only cost, and even that cost that is not there, is the khana daru cost. Okay. So, and even in so far as khana is concerned, we did a real good thing. 5 star se khana leke ghar pe pahunchaya, ye sab. So I'm saying that on the corporate, the first thing that you were talking about, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, Deepak. I think it's important for us
No,
to
no,
know
that's
that.
you are authority there. I'm not an
Yeah,
authority there at all. So
yeah, yeah.
that's
So
also there.
therefore, I
Yeah.
thought it's important for us to understand that on the corporate front, things are slowly opening up, and they're opening up to the monetizing bit also.
Super.
Sorry,
So
over to you. Yeah.
that's one bit of it. And now moving to the IP bit. Okay. So it if we realize good in time, I'll give you our example and then many more. We we realize that we have audiences. Okay, who we've gathered for so many years. Okay, in each of these categories. Now, if you don't have that audience, then it becomes challenging for to build up a new event or an IP and get a new audience. The challenge is the spend and believability will face a time will take time. Okay, so for us it was easy for doing that. Second part is there is we all know that there is an online fatigue, and that online fatigue is not, people are not transacting on a ticket. Okay, so is ticket model a scalable model online? It is not. So if anybody is thinking ticketing will end up selling a lot of tickets, it won't happen. I'm saying people should be it's been my experience in last few months on each of these categories. Okay, so ticketing is a challenge, to be true, very category. Don't spend too much time and money on that. If you But if you build something for a sponsor, okay, there is a lot of value in our online ecosystem. So say for example, we did some like currently at Windmill Festival, what we're doing, we've got Singapore tourism. Now Singapore tourism is actually build made us build the real Madame Tussauds in our windmill platform. Okay, they've made their what do you call that, the night safari in our show. And actually, you go there, you will end up seeing the Madame Tussauds show in windmill today. Now, what we've done is taken the audiences who we had to a sponsor, and gather a sponsorship there, gather a sponsor there. But if we end up asking consumer, will a consumer pay? It is challenging. Okay. Third part is people are using cause as one of the point. Like Sunburn did, used and raised money for Goa. Okay, for well-being of Goa and so on. That's another way to look at in the IP ecosystem currently. People should use that as one way to look at. And last bit of my example is we did Festival of Festival. One of our shows in Festival is a show called Mehfil, okay, which was created by Roshan Abbas. Now, in that show, Roshan Abbas and Commune created that show. The Javed Akhtar was there, Shabana Azmi was there, and we end up selling decent number of tickets. You know why we sold tickets? And it was not Shosha, it was Shairi. People are talking, but Shairi online was good enough, music online was not good. So this is what a niche you need to gather on an online IP. If you get a niche in an online IP, it will end up selling and it will gratify you. This is what the
Right.
construct of the current IP online is happening.
Absolutely. The target audience is so important because the guy who's into Shairi is today at least about 65, 70 years old, and he's made his money and he's happy to spend that money. लेकिन ये जो
नहीं,
music
उसमें
है, that
भी just to
is,
add on, Arvind, just to add on, sorry. So if you just see, it was $500. If you get into a room, it was $1,000. If you want to do meet and greet, it was $3,000 with those, and it
right,
worked so well. So that's the beauty of that.
right, right. No, seriously, I'm enjoying every moment of this online space because the kind of traction and the kind of data and the analysis that we can do on an online space we cannot do on an on ground. The only issue, and this will happen, Deepak Chaudhary, I'm 100% certain about that we will slowly is the key word here, start monetizing on this. Now, the thing is that how much time it takes, how much patience we have, do we have the bandwidth to last that time? Those are other questions. Yeah. Wonderful. On that note, Deepak Chaudhary, thank you so much for being and supporting Espousal Online. I really appreciate it. Deepak is also going to be on our leadership panel, which is happening at 5 p.m., along with Samit Garg, Prasad Vidappa, and Arun Bablani, and Anjan, who will be moderating it. Would you like to give us a closing remark before we do this session?
No, I think again, coming to in these times, if people who are taking efforts, kudos to them, and you are one of them. So I think keep going. That's the whole idea. And IPs, if you have IPs for people to know and connect that, and if you are in wedding, should think IPs, and if you're in IPs, should think weddings. So all that should happen. I'm saying don't shy away and stop yourself from that.
Thank you. Thanks, Deepak. See you on the other side.
Thank you. Yes, looking forward.